What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the My Money Muscle podcast, where our mission is to help you improve your financial, physical, and mental health by cutting out the bullshit and getting real with your problems. My name is Keith.
My name is Steve. We're the host for today. But before we get into the episode, part 2 with the Macro King, got to make sure you guys know that we're not going to sell you anything today. We're not going to sell anything in the future. No ads, no nothing. So all we ask is that if you found value in the show, that you learned something, that you change your perspective, that you enjoyed the guests that we brought on, anything at all, just share the show. Tag us at My Money Muscle Podcast on Instagram. Let us know what you thought and join the conversation or continue the conversation there. So let's get on with today's episode.
Let's do it. So we have part 2 with Josh Harlow, Steven's brother, aka the Macro King. Today we just want to talk about, we kind of talked about the understanding of becoming an entrepreneur in part 1, a little bit of his backstory, just like a little bit about him taking on this business very seriously. So I want to talk about like more nutrition and training, like specificity things now. So as we get into it, let's kind of just start out with the questions, man. So, as fitness and nutrition and everything there is a bunch of different ways to go about doing things when it comes to coaching. I've seen keto coaches, I've seen like flexible dieting coaches, I've seen just like pure calories in versus calories out. I've seen people who are like vegan, blah, 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 blah. So like, what is the method in which you coach your clients on nutrition, and like, why did you choose that route?
It was more or less just something I was more trained on in the process of like learning how to go about this, and it just seems to make the most sense. So like normally when I sign a client, I'll start them out on a meal plan for the first like 3 to 6-ish weeks, maximum like 7, 8, depending, of a meal plan that's basically like, there's some options, like there's some variation, whether it's like rice swap for potatoes, or like little bit of variation in like protein sources, or like give them like vegetable options, that kind of thing. So it's not like the exact same thing over and over. And from there, you kind of just have to get your baseline and see like, because some people are going to get really bad bloating from like egg whites, oats, like potatoes. There's like a bunch of foods. So you kind of need to monitor that in the initial stages and just see like what foods work and what don't. And then, so that's a meal plan that I'll like, I build every meal of every day. And then from there, I'll usually transition them into macros. But I'll start it out with like, okay, especially if someone's really new and they haven't tracked macros or anything before, start them out where like, okay, here's your meal plan. And then here's one meal a day, whether it's your like dinner or whatever it is, where you'll be like, hey, these are your macros for this meal. And we'll send them like instructional videos on how to properly track. And then I'll get them to actually track their meals and send them to me and make sure they're doing it right. And so ease them into it, like one meal a day for a bit where they're picking what they want to eat and macroing it in. And then you can transition that 2 meals, 3 meals. And then eventually the goal obviously is to have somebody have enough understanding to just like do macros on day-to-day basis, because like you're not going to stay on a meal plan indefinitely. It's just not realistic, especially when you have family gatherings or events or whatever. You need to be able to know how to fit things in instead of just being like, well, I'm just going to eat my meal plan and this, because I don't know how to swap things.
Yeah, exactly. Like we kind of do the same sort of system. For us, it's like the first week is pretty diligent on the meal plan, and then we'll give some variation in the second week where we ask them to track certain meals of the day, like throughout that second week. If they're crushing it, then I just completely transition them into macros, and I just like make sure I get photos of their meal prep if they are planning on meal prepping, because, at the end of the day, not everyone is like us where this is our full-time job. We can cook in our kitchen whenever we want. So meal prep to me is like super freaking important. But I agree, like macros at the end of the day are the way that you're going to have the freedom to eat what you want, and realize like what makes sense for you and what doesn't. What's awesome about this form of eating is that, there's nothing that's really off the table, really. It's just up to the client to determine whether it's worth it to them to stay within their goals and understand the science. Like, for example, I think people take a look at macro counting and think like, oh, I get to just eat whatever I want and just make sure I hit my macros. But like, you find out really freaking quick that if you fill that up with Reese's peanut butter cups and protein powder, that you're going to feel like shit, you're going to be starving, and it's just going to be a fucking horrible time for you, right? So, in transitioning people into macros, for example, like how do you make sure they hold on to like more whole food sources instead of just going like, all right, I'll just hit these numbers?
Well, that's why I usually keep them on a meal plan for longer than like a week or two, because like they kind of, especially when someone's like been eating kind of shitty for like, whether it's their whole life or for like a while leading up to it, when you get them like consistently eating that for like, I've had clients that didn't even want me to take them off the meal plan because I'm not just like chicken rice every meal. Yeah. Like I vary it. It could be like protein pancakes in the morning, and then they'll have like cereal or something before the gym, and then they'll have like a red meat, whether it's flank steak and rice, and then they'll have like chicken and potatoes or something, and then end it with like a yogurt bowl with like some fruit, protein powder, stuff like that. Like I kind of try to hit the palate like in a bunch of different angles so that they are like, they don't feel like they're missing out on sweets or they're missing out on this. So like a lot of times they're just like, they're fine with, once they've stopped eating those types of foods, like they stop fitting in the fast food and stuff like that, they like enjoy those foods. So then when you switch them off, if it's been like a month of them eating like that, majority of the time when they macro in that meal or whatever, they a lot of the time they'll macro in meals that you've given them in the past. They don't stray too far away.
Yeah, that's fair. So moving on with that, like, I know in being in the mentorship with Brett, he's big on supplementation or just like alternative ways of helping people that aren't just managing food, for example. Like I've talked about in the last episode, different things like milk thistle or, B vitamins, D vitamins, magnesium, for example. Like how big of a role do you think supplements play in someone's like fitness journey, especially when it comes to like coaching your clients? Like, do you have people on like supplement protocols right away? Do you just say like, it's up to you? Like, how do you kind of go about that?
Yeah, typically I do. I'll like suggest out the gate what I would like them to take, but nothing's like mandatory, obviously. Like I'll get some people I'll get everybody to supplement protein usually, like, cause just out of convenience. And then kind of like the ones I don't push, because the thing is, if you can afford all these supplements, there's like a lot more that are like, yeah, it's not needed, but like if you take it, it's probably going to help. But like some people don't want to have a $400 supplement bill every month. Right. So you can get away with like, usually the ones that I'll have people on is like digestive enzymes, turmeric, like revived turmeric for inflammation is like I'll take that all year round for the rest of my life, probably. Omega-3s, probiotics, those are kind of like the like crucial ones, and vitamin D obviously. But like I said, none of it's like mandatory. I would never tell someone they have to take this because creatine, can't forget that one. Yeah. But yeah, it's never mandatory, but I'm just telling them like, look, if you can afford it, it's not a bad idea to take these things. The ones that I'm like, okay, you need to be taking a green supplement though. That's one where I'm like, you're definitely not getting your micronutrients eating, like none of us are. Yeah. Every single person should be taking a green supplement. So that's like the only one where I'm like kind of like non-negotiable on, just from a gut health perspective. But yeah, the rest it's optional.
Right. So the green and then maybe like the creatine or something like that would be like the top two, or what would you say the top two would be the non-negotiables? Well, like or the essentials really.
Yeah, the ones that I really stress the most are taking turmeric, greens, and then whey and vitamin D. And then I'll add in, like, if people are anxious or having a hard time sleeping or anything like that, I'll always like be a big advocate for L-theanine, either post-workout or before bed, or both.
I remember when I was taking Yohimbine at the last little stint of like my prep, and I was on 20 milligrams, and I remember every time I didn't take L-theanine with it, I'd come back after my cardio session thinking I was like dying. Like my heart was like racing out of my chest. I'm like, holy fuck. Like, I'm like, there were a couple of days where I got back from my cardio and I was just laying on the couch like, holy fuck, holy fuck, holy fuck. But every time I took L-theanine afterwards, it really helped. Have you seen the prices of creatine like lately? Mm-mm. Dude, it's fucked. Like I went to every supplement store on the island and nobody has creatine except for the capsuled ones. Like the Crealkaline ones. Fucking really? $90.
Oh my
God.
dude.
Creatine was like notoriously the cheapest supplement too.
Exactly. And
For
I've been
so
telling
long.
I've been telling all my clients, like, get creatine. You'll get a fucking tub that'll last you a year for like $40. And then I go to the supplement store because it's been a year since I last bought some. And they're like, yeah, it's 90. Like, fucking 90? What do you mean 90? Like, what happened? And
Just
I've called
doubled it.
every store on the island, or
That's
like every
insane.
store in Victoria, dude. It's stupid. So next thing I want to ask is, like, you know, we already talked about basic nutrition guidelines you get people to follow. Yeah, so let's talk about this. You know, why did you get into like the recipe / food side of like TikTok / reels rather than like the typical like motivation training like style videos? Like, what caused you to go that direction instead of like purely training? And I know we talked about this in the last episode, but like, I guess because it's so, and maybe this is like a gender or, you know, sex bias that like, you don't see a lot of guys doing that. You see typically more females focusing on the nutrition and gut health like side of things. Like, why did you go that direction?
Honestly, because like, especially when you have to put out like X amount of content if you want to, like, it's just part of the job. And like, anybody who knows me knows that like, I'm not like this motivational speaker, like gonna fucking hype you up. Like, I'm gonna change your life mentally right now with this video, kind of like I just can't do that approach and be like genuine.
Right.
So I was like, fuck, okay, what am I gonna do? I was like, okay, well, I know I can make these recipes like pretty consistently. I have like a lot of them like logged. Been doing it for a while. So I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. Easy little videos that'll grab people's attention, and they'll like save them, try them, whatever.
Yeah.
And people end up like making them and then reposting them and tagging me.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. That's just kind of the angle I've taken, and I'd much rather do that than like the 1% better every day.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Like, I can't do that.
No, I feel you. The thing that I fucking struggle with the most is the, you ever see those TikToks where it's like, why do you get into the gym? And it's like, or like the, how bad did it hurt? And then it's like, enough because like some girl broke your heart. Or like, what are the other ones? Why do you go to the gym? To keep my demons inside, like to have them not come out of me. Like, maybe I'm just not there, but like, those are the videos that make me cringe inside.
Yeah, like it's, I get it. I get that, like, it's just content. Like, you're getting views, you're getting people to your page. Like, I get the tactic. I understand it, but I just, like, I can't bring myself to do it. It's just like, because, well, certain people too, like certain people have the personality to kind of like get away with it, and it's like funny and not really cringe.
Yeah.
But like, picture me doing one of those reels. Like, it would just be like literally the most cringe shit ever.
Oh my God.
I've talked about this. I've talked about this before, like with you, but like Josh is like, so like think of a person's emotional scale, right? Let's say like 10 is like fucking laughing, dying, so happy. And then 1 is like depressed, in tears, whatever. No matter how good a situation could be or how bad a situation could be, if Josh is at a 5 and typically something would happen to bring someone to a 10, the way Josh perceives it, it gets it to like a 5.5. Like, the scale in which Josh's emotions go is just like moderate and chill no matter what the fuck happens. Like,
And then on the reverse, it's like baseline 4.5.
exactly. It's like, it never goes much higher, much lower than that, which is dope because it's like, it shows that you have like a solid head on you and you don't overreact to shit. You know?
You're real as fuck.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, one question I want to ask you is, how long does it take you to make those videos? Like what kind of time frame in a day?
There's a range, but like when I first started doing them, it would take me like so fucking long to film it, and then I'd be walking on the treadmill while I made it, and by the time I finished, I'd look up and it'd been like 2 hours. I'm like, okay, I need to figure this out. Like, I can't do 2 hours every time I make one of these fucking reels. But now it's pretty quick. I just set it up, and I'll just film everything kind of in like one go, chop it up, and editing it now, I don't care. Like, the first couple ones I made, I was like literally trying to like split the clips on like the kicks and the snares of the song.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh, no, I'm not doing that
That's
anymore.
the DJ in you just
I
making
was
sure
just
it's
like,
perfect.
no, I can't do it. Like, I
So,
can't do this anymore.
all right, here's a hack. Ready? So once
But I don't do it on TikTok, right?
you do it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Here's the hack. Once you get to like, because like you're just starting with like that type of content, so like the next level is to do it on the computer or on Premiere.
Yeah.
So there's so many little hacks that you can use in Premiere. One of them is called sequence marking. So basically you have the waveform of the music that you want to use for the TikTok. And then every kick or snare that you want to change the video on top of it, you just put a marker there. You can copy all of your video clips in a specific order and just say like copy and paste in between sequences, and it automatically chops it up to the beat of the song, and you're fucking golden. All you have to do is put captions and shit on it.
Damn.
The frustrating thing is like with some of the recipes, like with the Timbit one, I made it 4 times in a row before, because every time I would eat one and I was like, fuck, it tastes good, but it's like so dense.
Yeah.
Like what do I need to swap out here to like make it not so dense?
Yeah.
So I had to like make these Timbits and just go through like $20 worth of groceries to like, because each time I was like, yeah, I just need to make it one more time because it's like basically there.
Right.
And like filmed it 4 times.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the 4th time in a row where I was like, okay, this is actually good. So, but it's just like, that hasn't happened too often, but it just kind of sucks when you like, I've allocated like from this time to this time to make a reel during the day. And then when you fuck it up.
Yeah. And then the rest of your day gets pushed forward.
Yeah. Because it's like, shit, I still need to put out a reel today. So I don't know.
Yeah. My whole goal is like to be able to put out 2 to 3 TikToks every day. Oof. And it's rough, especially with some of the stuff I've been doing lately. Like, I'll have people ask me questions on Instagram and I'll have it pop out and I'll be like, hey bro, what is your opinion on conventional versus sumo deadlifts? And then I'll like talk about the differences and why they're good for certain like muscle groups, whatever. I remember I was editing one maybe like 2 or 3 days ago and it took me 2.5 hours to edit. And I'm like,
holy
dude, what the fuck? Like this, I literally was like, oh, I got like 30 minutes to spare right now. Like I'll just quickly edit this. And then I'm like, oh no, it's not good enough. Rewatch the whole thing over. Oh shit, I should add something there. Rewatch the whole minute over. I'll add 2 more things there. Rewatch. And like, the amount of times you just rewatch and you don't have it like planned out of like, this is going to be the scene here with these things that pop up, scene here, things that pop up. But then you go into the balance of like how much planning really counteracts the amount of time that you spend creating. Like for example, writing a to-do list is great so you don't forget. But at some point you're writing a to-do list so fucking long that you're taking an hour out of your day from actually fucking doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why like the way I do it is I just set a schedule with like a baseline schedule of like these things, but like day to day, here and there, shit can change. You can swap things out and do things at different times, but like at least if you're following like some sort of like skeleton of a schedule, kind of like keeps you a little more organized.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I definitely can test for that as well. It's huge.
Let's go into training a little bit. So this is an interesting one because I think that at least Phoenix's style of training, which is like Brett's coaching company, is quite different than I think the more like the newer age, like RAR and like progressive overload, training to failure, etc. So like, how do you structure out your training for yourself versus how you structure it out for like your clients?
Yeah, my training for myself is more or less like constantly trying to just like push it further, and like majority of like each exercise, I don't do a lot of volume. Like even now I've cut back my volume even more. I'll go in and like do, if I'm doing like a chest day, chest and tries or something, it'll be like 4 chest movements maybe. And each of those is only 2 sets. But it's like I take longer breaks and I work up like, so instead of having like bullshit volume and not going till failure, the feeder sets, I'll do like on my first couple exercises, I'll do like 4 or 5 feeder sets to find like the maximum amount of weight. And then that first top set is literally just like gun to your head. You cannot get it more, like you cannot get another rep no matter what you do. Or if you have a spotter, it's like you hit failure. And even if they're pulling the weight, 50% of the weight, you do like 3 or 4 more. Yeah.
I think one thing to take away from this for everybody is if you think you need 7, 8, 9, 10 exercises in a single workout to get a quote unquote good workout, you're not training hard enough, like whatsoever. Like my training split has 5 movements in it in every workout, just 5. And it's like, I'll have an intensity modifier at the end of a couple, but like here, I'll take you through my push day from yesterday. So it was chest flies, incline Smith machine press, dumbbell shoulder press, lateral raises, and tricep extensions. 5. That's it. But at the end of the workout, like right now, my chest is fucking torched. And it's because like every time we got into those sets, we gave it that full intensity. And like you made a really good post on your Instagram talking about feeder sets and getting up to like that maximum weight. And I think a lot of people take the route of using one of their warm-up sets as their actual working sets, which is like, again, like if you're a bit newer into fitness, these are things you don't really think about. You're like, oh, I did a set, but it's like, okay, but like, did that set really do anything for you? And when it comes to junk volume at the end of workouts, it's like everyone's been through a workout that they have like 10 movements in. And then by the time they're finished, they're like third compound or, fourth, secondary movement. They're like just barely like making their way through and they're just doing it to get the pump. They're not really giving it that effort. Right. And for me, like I've just realized like how beneficial having a training partner is. Like even just going with Aslan, like my girlfriend, whenever I work out with her, I don't want to seem like a bitch, right? Because it's like, it's your fucking girl, man. Like you don't want to like look like your little pussy. Yeah. So I'm always in there. If I'm working out with her, I'm just like, okay, fucking balls to the wall, go. But when I do it by myself, sometimes it's like, sometimes I can't get into that headspace where I'm just like, I'll just fucking check my phone. Like, oh shit, a client messaged me. Oh shit, my team messaged me. Like if I continuously distract myself, like the workout's gonna be shit. Yeah.
I want to ask you both.
I just wanted to add one thing quickly. The thing with like when you're talking about like lifestyle clients, especially people who are like really overweight or have never been in the gym, it like honestly, you just need to get them moving. Like it's not about going in there and like trying to get as strong or build as much muscle as possible. Like you just have to get them to move around. So there's something to be said for like just getting them to go through the motions and not really be anywhere near failure for a while. But when you're like, even just people that are at like our level, those first, like say you're doing a set of 12, like you're failing at like 12, 13 reps, those first 10 reps are like, they're not doing anything in terms of growth. You're just exhausting yourself. And it's not until you actually start to fail that like that's where you're forcing adaptation. That's where you're doing the damage to your muscle. Those first 10 reps are not, if you stop at 10 there, like you may as well just done some push-ups.
This is the Arnold style of training, right? Yeah. He doesn't start counting his reps until he starts to feel the burn. Yeah. Like he'll go until he's like, okay, now this is difficult. 1, 2. Yeah. Like that's completely true.
You're just turning the muscle on until that happens.
Exactly. Exactly.
I want to ask you guys both too. No, we didn't really have this plan, but when it comes to like your mind muscle connection and training, how important is it? Like, no, obviously right out of the gate, just getting in the gym, like you're saying, getting moving is just such a huge, it's just so important in general. But once you get through that initial stage, like how important is it? And how does someone actually like, get, because I remember when we were in the gym, I think it was over a year ago, you were talking about your chest and we were talking about how different it was when you finally started to connect your mind to your chest and how you actually started to drop the weight and how then you started to really see progress when you started to actually get that when you started to connect your mind to your muscles.
Yeah, that just kind of happens over time because like if you don't have any muscle there really, like you're new and you don't have a lot of tissue, you can like sit there and think all you want and it's just like you just have to keep doing it. And eventually that connection will be like, you'll develop more and more and more, but it's something you have to like think of and you don't you have to be thinking of more or less. The biggest thing that like started to help me a lot was I was always focused on like the pushing aspect or like pulling. And once I started really thinking of like, okay, once you've squeezed the weight, it's when you're letting the cable or the machine take the weight back, that's where you have to actually fight it. If you just let it off, it doesn't matter if you're pulling like 4 plates. If you're not fighting the eccentric, it's not doing nearly as much benefit as you could be doing.
Right. So When it comes to muscular hypertrophy, there are two things, like two training variables that you should really think about. One is you're going to gain more muscle by focusing on the eccentric portion of the movement than the concentric portion of the movement. Second thing is going to be total time under tension. Where does that time under tension come from? The eccentric portion of the movement. When you go through the concentric, most of the time it's like fast, explosive, like, whether it be like a rowing action, right? One quick row and then slowly back down. Compared to if you just row it and release, you have effectively, let's say, 1 second of total time under tension. But if you row it and slowly release it, you have 3 total seconds of time under tension, and you're going to yield like more muscle growth. The other thing to really consider when it comes to the mind-muscle like connection, think about it like meditation. You don't hop into meditation right away and, start to see the benefits of it and also really get into that headspace of like committing to it and realizing that you're truly, truly meditating. So you've practiced and practiced and practiced. Mm-hmm. It's because you've spent the time trying hard enough where you've created those synapses in your brain that are like, okay, yeah, I feel it, I got it, etc. Same thing with guys who try to do lat spreads who typically can't at first. They can try all they want, or we can talk about engaging your lats, but if you don't have the practice or you don't have the tissue back there to create those synapses, like it's very hard to do so. Last thing when it comes to the mind muscle like connection, I think it is important from a pump aspect, but not entirely from the like hypertrophy aspect. Time under tension is great. You should be able to feel it in your muscles, but I think that the mind muscle connection is more important in performing compound movements and thinking about internal and external cueing rather than like for example, a cable fly. A cable fly is going to be very easy to feel like a mind muscle connection because you're going nice and slow. Like you really feel like the chest fibers like stretching out, etc. But arguably a better chest builder would be something that has a lot more load, like on your chest, like an inclined dumbbell fly, for example, or an inclined dumbbell press, for example. If you do a set of 4 to 6 with inclined dumbbell like presses, are you going to feel the greatest mind muscle connection and pump? Probably not. But arguably, because it has more load on it, you're going to feel, or you're going to gain like more muscle that way. But that's my thought process on it. It's not overrated to have the mind muscle connection, but it's not like
it's time and place.
Absolutely essential all the time.
Something to be aware of and use as a tool.
You start with your exercises that are going to be, like the way I like to structure it at least, is you start with your exercises that are going to have the most amount of load and the most amount of stress on the muscle you're targeting. And then so the way you can think about it is you want to do as much damage to the muscle as you can to begin with. And then the next thing you want to do is get into like your stretching movements, whether that's like flies or like whatever it is, whatever is just going to be mainly that like mind muscle, like stretching. Once the muscle's torn, you want to try and do as much stretching as you possibly can. And then the exercises to finish it off should be your like muscle rounds or your 5x5s. Those are going to be your exercises where you're just trying to fill the muscle with as much blood as possible now. You don't want to go into each exercise with the exact same approach. There's a reason why there's different exercises and you put them in different places.
Mm. Damn. Yeah. I mean, that's huge. I love that. Well, I think we got one last question for you here before we cap off the episode. What's been the biggest struggle for you going from being strictly an athlete to now coaching others, like your expectations versus what you've experienced in reality?
Yeah, the struggle is just having to kind of like, you have to kind of check yourself and think that like, okay, 95% of the clients or people I'm going to be dealing with like don't have that same mindset that I have, where it's like where like if you tell them something, like they're all like clients are all, the majority of the people you're going to get are going to be people who like it's not their like whole life, or they're not as into it, or
it's more of a hobby.
Yeah, and they like mess up on their diet a lot, or they do whatever, or they don't train hard. And like in my head, it's like, what's the program? It's like, okay, just follow the fucking plan. Mm-hmm. Like just follow the plan, like train as hard as you can. It's as simple as that. But it's when you're dealing with lifestyle clients and stuff like that, you can't really think like that, because they don't have those same goals. Like for us, it's like an actual like competition with yourself where like it's like you're competing against somebody else. Like you're actually like, it makes you mad if you like backtrack or something like that. Like, and if you're not like growing or seeing the results that you're trying to get, it's like an actual piss off. But for most people, they just want to be healthy and get in shape and whatever. It's not that big of a deal. So you just have to kind of take that into consideration and have that kind of understanding, because you can't really put the same level of expectations on people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of the things everyone should realize in like hiring a coach is, you know, our job is to get you to the result that, you know, you give to us. Like, you know, you want to lose 30 pounds. Like we lay out the roadmap, but at the end of the day, you're the one who has to drive the car. You know, we can hype you up as much as we can. We can give you all the right high quality information, but at the end of the day, we can't hold your hand going into the gym, and we can't hold your hand cooking a food, or we're not the fucking golden gates at the roof of your mouth that says this food can go in and this food can't. So like, you know, take it upon yourself. Like, you know, the saying is all diets work. It's people who don't work. And if you're willing to put in the effort and time to make shit work, this shit will work for you, especially if you have a high quality coach who knows what the fuck they're doing. And the other thing I'll say too is in my expectation of training clients now, I've gone to a point where I know who can handle a little bit of a shit kicking and who needs that like just support and motivation. I have a client of mine who's like a friend of mine at this point, and I constantly have to like hit him up, be like, dude, you got to pick your shit up. Like, what the fuck is going on? And you know, at some point, you need to create that balance between friendship and a client-coach relationship, because if you don't, it's going to bleed into each other, and the client's not going to get the results. The friendship's going to be fucked up. And, you know, this person ended up paying you money for just to like have you gaslight their excuses. So at the end of the day, if you're willing to put in the work, hiring a high quality coach is fucking awesome. But yeah, before we go, Josh, thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, thanks a lot,
It's been
boys.
sick having you on the show.
Yeah, good to be here.
Fuck yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed the Macro King.
Absolutely. So last thing before we go, as we do this little intro, if you guys haven't already, follow Josh on Instagram, jharlow_nutrition.
jharlow.nutrition.
jharlow.nutrition. Check out his macro-friendly recipes. Dude, honestly, Aslan will be seeing your like recipes of like, babe, we need to fucking make this. Babe, we got to make this. And I'm like, yes, we do. You're right. Fuck. Like everyone at my house gets hype about that shit too, man. So like you're doing a fucking
good to hear.
awesome job. Awesome, guys. Thank you guys so much. I know we talked about the giveaway in the last episode. So again, if you found anything valuable in this episode, share it to your Instagram stories. Tag us at My Money Muscle Podcast. We're going to be choosing one winner at the end of the month to be giving away $500 too. Thanks so much, and peace out.
Peace out, fam.
Peace.